After defeating the terrible Sphinx, Oedipus, as a reward, received the hand of the queen Jocasta of Thebes in marriage and became king of Thebes. He had 4 children with the queen, the boys Eteocles and Polynices, and the girls Antigone and Ismene. Many years passed, and Oedipus, despite having some flaws, was seen as a righteous and benevolent king. However, a plague was ravaging the city of Thebes, and many lives were cut short by the disease. Desperate, the population reached for their king, who had already saved the city in the past, and begged Oedipus to save it again. King Oedipus did not dodge his responsibility with the city and ordered Creon, his friend and brother-in-law, to go to the Oracle of Delphi and find out the source of such misfortune. Creon returns from the oracle with the answers for such calamity.
I will reveal what I was told by Apollo. Through the glorious oracle of Delphi, he expressly ordered that we must purify the land of the sacred city of Thebes, which is tarnished, thanks to a vile criminal.
The oracle revealed that the plague would persist until the one responsible for the death of Laius, the former king of Thebes, was expelled from the glorious city of Thebes, which he used as a haven. The only thing known was that King Laius had been murdered by a gang of thieves at a crossroads, but their identities remained unknown. Oedipus assumed the responsibility to uncover the identity of such vile element, who lurked within the walls of Thebes, and said, "Anyone who knows the real identity of the murderer is obliged to report what they know to me. Do not fear any kind of retaliation, regardless of who the perpetrator is, since you will be duly rewarded. I want the murderer to know that if he decides to willingly surrender himself, his physical integrity will be preserved, and he will not suffer any sentence, except the exile required by the oracle. And I want everyone to know that I will not rest until the man responsible for Laius's death is found and expelled from this city, even if he is part of my court or family. And I pray that the gods punish such an individual, inflicting him with full-fledged pain and suffering." Creon suggested the presence of Tiresias. The old blind man was a notorious clairvoyant and, with the help of his powers, the criminal could be found. The old Tiresias appeared before Oedipus, who told him, "Wise elder, your reputation as a clairvoyant gives you enough credit to help us discover the identity of the actual murderer of my predecessor. Therefore, I command you to reveal everything you know."
Terrible is the knowledge that only brings misery to those who know it. Let me go, my king, and bear your own burden, and let me bear mine. It would be better for both of us.
If you have knowledge of the killer's identity, reveal it now. Do not allow the city of Thebes to continue to suffer due to your omission.
You don't know what you are asking for. Such knowledge will only cast misery, and my mouth knows nothing.
How dare you betray the soil that welcomed you? This traitor can only be complicit in such a crime. Tiresias was deeply offended by this accusation and decided to reveal what he knew.
You insisted on going after your own demise. May you learn that the wicked who profanes our city is you, King of Thebes.
Take this man out of my sight. He is an old, demented man.
You wanted the truth and forced me to say it. Now force yourself to endure the punishments due and welcome the fruits of the curse that you have summoned, because I know the powerful truth, and what is said is said.
Take this traitor away. He can only be in collusion with Prince Creon, who brought this man here to steal my crown. Oedipus accused Creon of treason and conspiracy alongside Tiresias, in attempt to strip him of his power.
Why do you impose such burdensome accusations on me in such a careless way? I have always been your friend and made you king. I don't wish to have your crown, and why would I want to anyway? Standing by your side, I have all the benefits of royalty, without having to assume the heavy burdens of being a king. I never had the ambition to take your crown for myself." Queen Jocasta, who was watching everything, tried to calm the tempers of her husband and brother. However, Creon walked away, furious with Oedipus's accusations.
"Husband of mine, don't mind what that old charlatan told you. Those soothsayers and oracles no longer have the power that they once did. It was prophesied that Laius would be killed by his own son, and he died when he was just a baby."
At that point, the arrival of a messenger from Corinth was announced, from the city where Oedipus's parents still reigned.
My lord, I bring sad news from Corinth. Your old father has died, and for this reason you should return to your beloved city and take your throne as the king's heir.
The news that you give me is sad indeed, but even so, it gives me great relief. The oracle predicted that I would kill my own father, and that I would marry my mother.
You see, Oedipus, the oracle's word is no longer valuable. The old king of Corinth died without your intervention.
But what if my old father died due to the sadness and despair he felt after I decided to abandon him? It's not prudent to return to Corinth and run the risk of ending up married to my mother.
Don't worry, my king. The queen is not your real mother. She simply adopted you.
How do you know such a secret?
Because I was the one who handed you to her when you were just a baby. You were handed to me when I was crossing these lands with my flock. You had your feet pierced.
After hearing what the messenger had said, Jocasta felt a deep tightness in her heart. Would you recognize the man who handed me, if you ever saw him again?
Forget that, Oedipus. Stirring such wounds would only cause more pain.
It's important to me to know the identity of my father and my mother, because I do not want to bring them the misfortune of my prophecy.
Do not insist on going down that path. I beg you.
Like I have to discover the identity of Laius's true murderer, it's my duty to discover the identity of my parents. This is my duty to Thebes and to myself.
Don't you dare, sorrowful one. If you insist, that will be the only title you will carry for the rest of your life.
Jocasta, desolated, crumbled into tears and ran to her room. Oedipus failed to understand the reason of such hysterical reaction from his wife, and believed that Jocasta probably feared the humble origin of his parents, something that could spoil the name of her family. While Oedipus was talking with the messenger, he is informed that the only witness of Laius's murder was brought to the court. The servant of the former king looked pale in front of Oedipus. The messenger told him,
Lord, I have no doubt this is the man who handed you to me when you were just a baby.
"Servant, this man says that you handed him a baby many years ago."
Lord, pay no attention to this man. He is just losing your time.
Do you remember that small boy with wounded feet? Now he is in front of you as a king.
Why don't you shut your mouth, you fool?
Who handed you the child? Was it your father?
I don't know what this man is talking about.
If I have to repeat the question, you will be a dead man.
Please, do not harm an old man. I curse that day when I spared your life. It would be better if you were dead.
Speak right away and end this story.
I beg you, my king, don't ask me anything else.
You will speak the truth, whether you want it or not. Tie him to that trunk.
Considering that threat, I bow before your willingness. Saying this will be really cruel, but your pain as a listener will be even more excruciating. You have been delivered to me by Queen Jocasta, who put in my arms her son with King Laius, so that he could be delivered to the beasts of Mount Citharon to prevent the fulfillment of a terrible prophecy.
During that moment of revelation, light shed on the whole darkness that had blinded the poor Oedipus. His prophecy had been fulfilled. While trying to escape his fate from Corinth, Oedipus in fact crossed paths with it. But Oedipus's full misery had yet to be reached. Queen Jocasta had just committed a desperate act. Oedipus ran toward the royal rooms, but the door was locked. "Jocasta, don't do anything that cannot be undone. We are not to blame for what happened. Everything was an inevitability of fate." After forcing the door, Oedipus found Jocasta hanging with a rope around her neck. Oedipus laid the body of the lifeless queen on the floor. He removed the golden brooches that tied her dress and, with their needles, pierced his own eyes. "Cursed be my eyes, which have witnessed such a dreadful scene. I therefore mutilate them so that I no longer have to face my parents in the kingdom of Hades." Blind, Oedipus addressed the population of Thebes and said, "I have plucked out my own eyes. What can I admire or love in this life now? Take me to exile, far from Thebes, because I'm damned, the most hated creature by the gods among mortals." Oedipus handed his crown to his brother-in-law Creon, who would take care of the kingdom until his children reached the age to reign. Oedipus was given to the cane of the neglected, and the wretched king was taken by his own children to the city gates. His beloved daughter, Antigone, stretched out her arm and decided to accompany her poor father in exile. For Oedipus, the presence of his daughter at his side could only mean that the gods finally felt sorry for a man so cruelly persecuted since the beginning of his life.